Please, everyone, try and sit still. The class is still going on. Even the questions and the talk is just Shakti, just energy. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
How do you use the sexual energy to activate the Kundalini?
Well, I mean, it's what I've explained really a million times, and I guess I'll do it again. Look, the first step is developing chi, power inside yourself. Sexual energy is a very powerful energy. It's also an energy that's highly repressed, that creates a lot of psychological problems inside people. And, tension and all kinds of anxiety. And we repress it, and when you build chi inside yourself, it gives you the strength to release that energy. As I've said many times, the sexual energy in a human being is the area where the masculine and feminine principles unify, the yin yang, whatever you, Shiva, Shakti, whatever you want to call it. It unifies in the sex. There's a marriage that takes place. And it doesn't matter if a person is straight or gay or whatever, whatever that alphabet list is, it doesn't matter, What matters is that we have the power because we've developed the chi in the third chakra to draw the sexual energy to the base of the spine. And in doing that, it will activate Kundalini. And that's really basically the mastery of it. Now, this takes time. It's not going to, happen to a person because I write it on a blackboard and you memorize it. It is an organic evolution of one's inner life. And then that energy in every chakra, it begins to work in the transformation of the lack of consciousness into consciousness. Now, this takes time. It could take, years, for this thing to manifest, but one has to do the inner work. And it's not like you walk into a room and you turn on a light and the light goes on. We have to develop the capacity in ourselves to make these kinds of things take place. Now, the sexual energy is a very important energy. It not only gives birth in the world, it gives birth to all of us. It also activates the path to spiritual enlightenment, which is Kundalini. But we need to be grounded. We need to have the strength. Otherwise that energy, it could be too strong for people. If you're not grounded, you're not rooted inside and have chi, that power, sexual energy, Kundalini, very powerful energies. And in the meditation that I teach, what happens is there's a gradual opening of these areas. And it really works in tandem with the development of chi inside a human being. Because remember, you're not only developing the chi, you're developing the sexual area, you're developing the heart chakra, the throat chakra, which is our ability to communicate with people in life. And I don't mean opinionated, ego-filled communication, but I mean with love, with compassion, with joy, with happiness, to be able to interact with the world. How does that happen? The throat chakra opens, and when we talk, it's really a higher force of energy talking, not our egos, our mind, our opinion, our tension, what we think is right or wrong. So all of these chakras are essential, not only for spiritual life, but they're essential for just practical day-to-day living. And each of them will open, but one has to have patience, do their inner work, and understand that it takes time. I hope that's clear, because, there's no great mystery in chakras, although people write all these esoteric books about it, but it's not a mysterious thing. It's a very practical thing. And we have the tools, to build that chakra system inside ourselves. We just have to master the use of them. What are the tools? As I've said a million times, the mind and the breath. And the mind and the breath alone are not enough. We have to have a need inside ourselves that is so strong to have a spiritual life that we be willing to overcome any obstacle and hindrance to it in order to make it happen. And then we have to have the will to do it. You put those four elements together and you can build a chakra system that is capable of doing everything that I talk about. And the key to it all is a highly developed chakra system. But then there's another key. Are people willing to do the work on themselves to attain that? And I always say the only person that anybody is up against in having a spiritual life is themselves. And as I say, my job is not to be a guru, it's to really help people overcome themselves so they can have their own independent connection with God and attain, hopefully, a level of spiritual enlightenment. I mean, that's what these, I don't know, it's what these classes are for. It's what I learned from my teacher. And I always think it's very wonderful not to have to be a guru. I think it's just a simply wonderful thing. And I can just live like an ordinary human being. Go to the movies, go out and have dinner, walk on the streets without people running up and kissing my feet. And at the same time, to be able to do this kind of work. Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask?
I have a question. You may not want to answer this, but so I came across Rudy through Adi Da Samraj, who was a student.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, you would. Who, was the student of Rudy's. And obviously he was a very much guru to the max. And I would just love to hear your thoughts or feelings around him if you felt to share.
I'll be honest with you, Alicia, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I was there when Franklin Jones, his name was at the time, was kicked out of Rudy's meditation class. I was there. It happened about a week after I started studying with Rudy. But I don't want to get into this. I really don't. I'm not here to discuss other teachers, other gurus, Swami this one, Yogi that one, Father this one. It's not my job. My job is to just do what I do. And I'm grateful for anybody that studied with Adi Da and they got something important from it. I am not the only teacher in the world. There are many, many different teachers. Every one of them has something to offer. I never tell people you got to study with me, I've known about teachers, you study with me or I'll cut your whatever off, And I'm not like that. I'm not in competition with anybody. And I don't like to talk about other teachers. I really don't, because it's not my business. I was not there. I didn't go to the Fuji Islands to sit with them. I don't know. I really don't know. And if you benefited from him, then I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. I've been around many teachers, and one story I always tell is one teacher sitting talking there about how the guru is God. You worship the guru, you get your enlightenment. And my teacher, Rudy, is sitting behind me during this lecture, and he whispers in my ear, the guru, at best, the guru is the servant of God and the servant of every one of his students. The highest position you can attain is being the servant. Now, in that, there was so much humility. There was so much humility that it really was a teaching. It just was engraved in my soul, what he told me. So what Arida did, or Baba Frijan, or whatever his name was, I don't know. And I'm not here to talk about it, but I am here, to have eternal gratitude to the people, Rudy, Nityananda, Swami Nityananda, others, Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, that I have had contact with in this world and also outside this world, that have done an enormous amount to help me build a spiritual life inside myself. Kala Rinpoche. I spent 3 days with Kala Rinpoche in Sanada Monastery in Northeast India. And it was the most extraordinary 3 days I'd ever spent. He gave me my entire Tibetan Buddhist education in 3 days. And this might sound impossible to you, but I'm not going to get into the story. In one of my books, I tell the story. It might sound impossible to you, but it absolutely was a miracle that happened. And the reason I know this, and not only because of what I learned from him and how it changed so much inside me, is that I was giving a lecture once in San Francisco at a yoga institute. And one of my students comes up to me and says, Stuart, you got to talk to this guy. You're not going to believe this. So I went over, and he was a student of Kala Rinpoche's. And he said to me, in 1976, Kala Rinpoche was dying. And this is true. He looked like he was ready. He had the last 3 weeks of his life when I met him. And he said, 2 seekers came from the West, and their spiritual need was so strong that it brought Kala Rinpoche back to life. And this is what happened. By the time he finished talking to myself and this other person, he was sitting on a throne chair, completely dressed in his teaching, outfit. And when I first met him, he was lying in bed, and, he was like, what made this happen was the meditation practice that I learned from Rudy. When I sat down and this other person sat down, he knew we were serious students. And there were 300 lamas sitting out in the courtyard in the monastery with prayer wheels and, yapa beads and Om Mani Padme Hum and all this stuff. And he said to me something that just broke my heart. He said, when he was a young guru, or a young, tulku, not a guru, in Tibet, and he wanted to see his spiritual teacher, his Rinpoche, he would have to wait hours because there were lines of tulkus, lamas, waiting to see the spiritual teacher, the master, with questions. He said to me, today, I can't find anybody to teach. And this is a truth. I've experienced this. Rudy used to complain about this also. It's a very great truth. And myself and this other person had to go 9,000 miles to this monastery that I didn't even know existed, in order for this experience to happen. So I don't know about teachers. All I know is that most teachers are not used the way they should be used. And it's not even being a teacher. My job isn't to be a teacher. You all are my teacher. My job is to transmit whatever I've learned in this life to help everyone who comes here, you know, to build their own connection with God. Somebody gave me a t-shirt, Kundalini aerobics instructor. Really got a kick out of that one. So Adida and this one, and I don't know. I can't talk about them. I can only talk from the experiences of my own life and what I've been through many, many, many years of spiritual work and practice. And
thank you.
You're welcome, dear. I like your questions, even if I didn't like that question. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, if there are no more questions, there will be a meditation on Thursday. God bless you all. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, and have a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are in the world. And bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you.